listening to the Crosscheck NHL Show, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Here are your hosts, Andrew Berkshire and Mary Clark.
Hello and welcome to the Crosscheck NHL Show. Thanks for making the Crosscheck NHL Show your first listen every Tuesday and Friday. We're free and available on all platforms, now including YouTube. My name is Mary Clark, staff writer for The Win, and you can follow me on Twitter at Mary C. Clark. I'm here with Andrew Berkshire, NHL analyst for the Montreal Gazette and host of Game Over Montreal on the SDPN. You can follow on Twitter at Andrew Berkshire. On this Friday edition of the Crosscheck, the conference finals have begun, and boy, they're more similar than we thought they would be. Plus, we'll check in on what Jordan Binnington's reasoning was behind throwing a water bottle in Nazem Kadri, and also, what animal best represents hockey? Andrew, I'm very excited for you to explain this because this is a recent addition to our podcast doc for the day. But before we get into all of that, how are you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing great, Mary, because of Obi-Wan.
Yep.
Can't wait to talk about that. That'll be a great way to end off the show. Overall, just had a great day. Yesterday, I went for Christmas. I bought my wife a day at the spa, basically, mani-pedi, 80-minute deep tissue massage. And because of COVID restrictions, we were not able to do that until yesterday. So yesterday, spent the day at the spa. Super relaxing, amazing. Feel good today. So very ready to tackle the rest of the playoffs now. Recharged.
I get that. I completely get that. That's kind of how I felt after my last weekend. Long weekend, wedding weekend, got to, do different things. I mean, it was busy and stuff, but it was still a good time, a relaxing time. So I get that completely. It's nice to rest and recharge and stuff like that. Things are good here. I didn't realize until a little bit later in the day that Obi-Wan came out on Wednesday after premiering on Friday. I don't know why they did that. Because, it made me believe that the show was going to drop on Fridays instead. But no, it's Wednesdays. So thankfully I was able to rectify that and watch it. So we're all good to go. We can talk about spoilers on that. But we got some hockey to talk about first, Andrew. And the first thing I wanted to lead off with before we get to the playoffs, because you bumped this out of the last segment because of, I don't know, some random nonsense to end this show, which I'm excited for. I know, I'm excited for, but it just confused me so much because I haven't been paying attention to Twitter. But we're going to talk first about Jordan Binnington, who I want to say broke his silence, kind of, I guess, on what happened with the water bottle toss, in, what was it? I think game 3 of the second round between the Blues and the Avs came after, Kadri collided with him in net. Binnington was injured, did not play the rest of the series, did not play the rest of the playoffs, obviously, because the Blues are no longer playing. So I'm going to read you, the listeners, this 4-part quote from Twitter. It was from Jeremy Rutherford of The Athletic, a Blues writer for The Athletic. Basically, the Binnington's entire quote explaining the whole thing. And then we just kind of get to dunk on Binnington because it's kind of it's a big loser quote, in my opinion. But
agreed.
Yeah. Quote first. So, Binnington on throwing the water bottle at Kadri. I went to get my knee checked out mid-game. I was coming back to the rink and the game just ended. Walking down the hallway, I couldn't find a recycling bin on my way down the hallway. Right before I walked into the locker room, I see him kind of doing an interview there, smiling, laughing, and I'm there in a knee brace, limping down the hallway. I just felt like it was a God-given opportunity. I could stay silent and go in the room, or I could say something and just have him look me in the eye and understand what's going on. Something to think about. Yeah, I just threw the water bottle, an empty water bottle. It landed 2 feet from him. It is what it is. I mean, but it is what it is. It's hockey, and it's a competitive game. So that's it. Yeah, Andrew. So that's a big loser energy right there from Binnington, in my opinion.
Extreme loser energy. I think here's where I am with Jordan Binnington. I'm just done with him. I don't want to hear about him anymore. I know he's a hothead. I don't care. You never hear about players doing stuff like this off the ice because it just isn't done. And it doesn't matter that it's an empty water bottle. Nobody thinks he was going to injure Kadri by throwing the water bottle. It's the complete lack of respect.
Mm-hmm.
And you can talk about Kadri knew what he was doing, or he played hard on purpose in order to drive Binnington. If you I talked to Tim Peel about it in direct messages, and I hope he doesn't mind me sharing because I totally disagreed with his take on how much intention he felt Kadri had on this play. And he like would not move away from the fact that Kadri knew what he was doing and that it was an intentional running the goalie situation. Whereas I thought that he had pressure on him that drove him into the goaltender. He attempted to stop, like based on where his footing was, and he could not do so. He touched the puck first. He had every right to that space. Unfortunately, Binnington got injured, but that's still within the bounds of the game. Whether it was accidentally on purpose or not, it's on the ice. You don't take that off the ice. Never do you take that off the ice. And the fact that Binnington did shows how immature he is. And again, I don't believe that he does that to a white player. I just don't. His history looms large here. And I don't want to hear from him anymore. I think he's a bit of a joke. The stuff he does where he tries to like fake slash people in the face or fake punch people and then get off the ice when games when he's pulled, like, just you're a loser. I'm sorry. I know you want a Stanley Cup, and it's weird to say that you're a loser, but you're a loser.
Yeah, I mean it's just very lame. Like I know we want more drama in our hockey, like and that's great and stuff like that, but like I don't know. It just feels different because you're right. The lack of respect shown here and stuff like that. Like it's fun when, Brad Marchand or whatever calls out Tony D'Angelo or, Gerard Gallant calls out Tony D'Angelo and like stuff like that. Or like, other things like stuff like that. But like this just, I don't know. This feels completely different because he has a history of doing these things and he doesn't back it up really. He thought it was his God-given opportunity to toss this water bottle. It feels so self-righteous in a way that doesn't, even though he's won a Stanley Cup, it just doesn't feel deserved, I guess. I don't know. It's just like, you're a hockey player. It's a privilege, not a right to be a hockey player. And he doesn't see it that way. And that is not the way it is. But I was going to have a little bit of a long discussion on it, but it's okay. We don't need to spend time talking about Jordan Binnington. He's not in the playoffs and Nazem Kadri is. And I think that's all we really need to say on that. But, transitioning into our first topic, it's going to be the Western Conference Final. And whoo boy, if you had switched this game out for game one of the Battle of Alberta, I don't think anybody would have noticed. It was like essentially the exact same game. So that was Tuesday night. Between the Oilers and the Avalanche, and it was what I believe like 8-6. Yeah, 8-6 Avalanche at the end of the night. Poor Mike Smith is seeing double here because he at least he lasted longer in this game than game one. But oh my god, it feels like he's almost allergic to game ones, really. So we're gonna unpack it. Obviously, by the time you guys hear this, game will have been played just because that's how it is with our recording schedule. So we don't know, is the series 2-0 going to Edmonton, or is it going to be 1-1 headed to Edmonton? So what did you think, Andrew, of this game one scenario? Has it lived up to everything you had wanted it to be so far? Because so far it has for me.
Yeah, it was a great first game on both sides of the ice. I know that Darcy Kuemper couldn't stop a beach ball in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Smith, I think, was a lot better, despite the fact that he's the one that we like to make fun of. And I know Sportsnet Stats posted Mike Smith's record in game ones with Edmonton, and his goals against average is like 5. Oh no, it's higher than that. Sorry, it's 6.77.
Oh God! Oh no!
Save percentage 823. And in 5 games, he's been pulled 3 times.
Oh, that's awful.
It's real bad. But on the plus side for Edmonton, after game ones, he's actually been pretty decent in the playoffs. And look at what happened in Calgary, and then look what happened the rest of that series. He was actually really strong comparatively to Jacob Markstrom between 2 very talented offensive teams. So there's that. Colorado lost their starting goaltender in Darcy Kuemper, at least for a game. We don't know the outcome of that. Pavel Francouz is going to start. I don't know how that's going to work for Colorado. I'm not trusting their goaltending at all. Like Kuemper hasn't been good either. But I thought it was a great game. Saw 4 goaltenders in one game. Mike Smith's going to start game 2. I think the series has just amazing potential to be a classic. I hope it lasts longer than the Alberta one.
Yeah, because like what? The Battle of Alberta, didn't it last 5 games? Am I remembering? Okay, because the Oilers won, 4 straight after that first game. And I really hope it doesn't follow the same pattern here because sure, it would be a great story for Edmonton and whatnot, but like, come on, we deserve, like after the second round, it kind of fell flat on its face a little bit. We deserve something like this. I mean, we will get to the next series, which is different than I think we all thought it was going to go. But for at least for now, we'll stick with the Western Conference. But yeah, I mean, it is concerning. Like, it's funny because like, the Eastern Conference is billed as two great goalies and whatnot, and the West is like just like a clown show everywhere. I mean, part of it is because Darcy Kuemper is injured. We don't know like the extent of his injury. I think I saw something that he pulled himself out of the game because he wasn't able to see properly. It was like his like vision was blurry. So that doesn't look good. That was the last thing
No.
I saw on, his injury. So I hope he's okay. Because that to me signals possibly, a concussion. It's not what you want to see from a goaltender. Also, concussions just suck, as we have talked about before. So yeah, I mean, even though Mike Smith, he didn't really implode, I guess. He should have maybe been able to stop a handful, not a handful, like maybe a goal, but like the Avalanche are just so good. They came out like on fire immediately. They looked so fast. They just completely overwhelmed the Oilers. And it's hard to place really a lot of the blame on Mike Smith. But the game the score was, I guess, closer than the game indicated because, by the end when Darcy Kuemper was out,
It was a 1-goal game.
Yeah, it was a 1-goal game, and there was a very real possibility that the Oilers would have tied it, but that didn't happen.
I think that's what impresses me the most about the Oilers this year. They have their foibles. I don't think they're very great defensively.
Mhm.
Like, by the underlying metrics, they're still not amazing, although they were pretty darn good in the regular season under Jay Woodcroft. When you account for special teams, they're actually still quite good. But at even strength, not the best team in the league, obviously, but they do not have any fear. I think that was like the big thing between them and Calgary was that Calgary seemed to, when the offense started from Edmonton, it seemed like Calgary was on their heels at all times. And despite the fact that the Edmonton Oilers weren't great at defending against Calgary either, they never felt like they were panicked. They were just like, we're just going to get the next one. We're going to get the next goal. We're going to get the next 5 goals. And they did. They were just able to do that over and over again. And to do that in game 1 against Colorado, despite the fact that Kuemper wasn't great and Francouz came in cold, like, it's impressive. It's very impressive to me. I think over the course of the series, Colorado just has way more defensive aptitude than Edmonton does just as a roster. But I'm very impressed by the Edmonton Oilers so far in these playoffs.
Yeah, and I pulled a stat from ESPN. Look at me pulling stats, because I saw it going around on social media. And this is from ESPN that the Oilers lead the NHL in goals scored, 58, and goals allowed, 45 this postseason. So, it's kind of it really is a dichotomy between, this Oilers team of like they have incredible goal scorers. We've talked about, the historic paces, McDavid, Draisaitl. It always feels like they score the same, like at least Evander Kane scores the same goal like every time, or like they score the same goal off the rush. Like they're just really lethal at that type of play. And it makes sense because, they've got fast players, they've got really creative, dynamic players, are able to take advantage of teams off the rush. It just feels like they score at least a handful of those rush goals like a game, and it's really awesome to see. It doesn't get old. But like then of course you've got on the other hand, Mike Smith doing his best Jekyll and Hyde routine essentially, but after game 1 he seems to settle in. So if that holds true, the Oilers are in at least probably in a bit of a better position than the Avalanche here, depending on how long Kuemper is out for. Because
well, I mean, losing Kuemper looks bad on its face because of the regular season, but Francouz actually has pretty decent numbers, and Kuemper has not been playing well for a long time.
I was going to say, yeah.
So maybe it's not that big of a loss. No offense to Darcy Kuemper and his family.
You don't want to lose your starting goaltender. Basically, I think is the thing. And regardless of whether Darcy Kuemper was having a good playoffs or not, hasn't not
Still
been as But you lose your starter. That's not it's not often going to be a key to success. I mean, we saw it with Pittsburgh. They lost Tristan Jarry, and Louis Domingue had a great game, and also lost Casey DeSmith. Yes, and also lost Casey DeSmith. Yes. So, but Louis Domingue had that great game, but then wasn't able to follow it up. So you don't regardless of how good or your starter is playing or not, you still don't want to lose them
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it can spell disaster for your
Well, and
team. Also, you
even
can
if you
play
go
less
to your backup,
confidently.
like,
Yeah.
even if you go to your backup while your starter's still there, you have the option to go back to your starter, right?
Yes.
You have that safety net where if a guy's injured, that's just it. You know,
Yeah.
you don't
Exactly.
your next step down is awful. But you mentioned scoring off the rush. You know, speaking of off the rush, Edmonton Oilers fans are still extremely angry that Cale Makar's goal counted.
Yep.
And I know you had this in the doc as we prep for the show, but I wanted to ask your take, Mary. What did you think about that call? Because
I
I think
didn't think.
my take has been very publicized.
Okay. Well, I still want to hear it just for the record. But for me, I thought it wasn't going to count. Because you look at the tape, it doesn't seem like it's going to be onside. But then they call it onside, and everybody gets up in a roar, and then all of the hockey people that know the rules and stuff like that are like, actually, it was a good goal because of basically it was a very quick tag up. Essentially, I know it was a very loose interpretation of the rule, as it were. Um, I don't personally mind it because that is technically the rule, and also because there were instances that I see this different than the one that was kicked in, the goal that was kicked in that wasn't allowed. I see this one as different because there were instances that people had later of goals that had the same thing happen where the possession was a little bit murky at the blue line. They were all called consistently a goal. Stuff like the kicking motion has not been called consistently.
Yeah.
So that's where I think um these two instances differ. That whole kicking motion, discarding that goal has not been called consistently. But in this one instance of this weird little rule, you could argue whether or not the rule should exist or, the rule should be more clarified. But it seems as if the NFL, or not NFL, NHL referees, got it right by the way it is in the rule book, and also with the way it has been called throughout the season, essentially, or through seasons past. So I get why Oilers fans were mad in the moment, but at least to me, if you step back and take that out of it, this rule has been called consistently. But you can also make the case that it shouldn't be the way it is. But I want to hear what you have to say, Andrew, because controversy, baby, it's content.
Yeah, 100%. I understand with the way that the league is talking about offside and the way that the rule is written that you could call that not being offside. And if it were up to me on how offside should be called,
Mhm.
that should be a goal. But I saw a tweet from former referee Dave Jackson
Mhm.
that just pissed me off. And I find Dave Jackson, no disrespect to him, but every time he weighs on an issue, I'm like, this is why I don't like refs. Like the tweet was, don't confuse possession with control. Possession is the last player to have the puck. That's how it's legal to check a player immediately after he releases the puck without being called for interference. Shut up. Possession and control are the exact same thing. If you have control of the puck, you have possession of the puck. If you have possession of the puck, you have control of the puck. The reason why you're allowed to hit a player right after they let go of the puck and not get an interference call is because it's written in the friggin' rules
Mhm.
that you can hit a player within 0.5 seconds after they've released the puck. It has nothing to do with possession.
Mhm.
Like, shut up. Why are we changing the meanings of words? Those two words are the same thing.
Mhm.
Like, there's very little that you could separate those two words with. I hate this stupid obfuscation that we do in the league. Like, same thing with goaltender interference. Like, well, if you look at this specific definition of this specific word, make it clear.
Mhm.
Make it clear
Yes.
so that the dumbest person who watches hockey understands every call.
Mhm.
Why would we have it this way? And the goals that people were showing, there was actually a couple, I believe, of Thomas Tatar doing this specific move where he kind of lobs the puck into the zone and then chases it down while there's a player who's offside who comes it back in. Comparing that to the Makar situation, where he very clearly is just stick handling and his stick happens to not touch the puck at the
Yeah.
exact moment where the Colorado player is coming out of the zone. He did not push the puck forward and then regain control. That did
Mhm.
not happen on that goal. He was stick handling. So if we're going to Like, litigate offsides to the point where we're going to look at how a player was stick handling when crossing the line. Just quit that garbage. Like, I am fine if they want to keep offsides in the game for cherry picking, right?
Mhm.
If somebody's across the line and you pass it up to them and they get the puck and they're offside, call it offside, fine. That's like the Duchesne thing, right?
Yeah.
That's where the reviews came into the league because of that missed call.
Yeah, and
But
also the one the Penguins fans bring up is the Danny Briere one against the Penguins, but
yeah, I don't remember that one. But
it's a lesser known thing. That's basically a shout out to my friend who always brings that up to me when we talk about offside. But continue.
all right. But anyway, my point is we should not give a rat's ass about who crosses the line first on a carry possession.
Mhm.
It does not matter in the game. It has no impact on the play whatsoever. It's just a benefit for a defending player to try to push their stick at the right moment to stop a controlled entry. It punishes skill, maybe helps defensive skill, but those players who are good enough to stop entries at the blue line will find a way to stop entries at the blue line without the benefits of causing an offside. I hate it. And this idea of like offside reviews, like, yes, we lose offsides or we lose goals on offside reviews. Yes. We also lose a lot of goals on borderline offsides that refs call in play, which
Mhm.
can't be reviewed because the play doesn't get a chance to continue. Right.
Yeah.
So like it kind of falls on deaf ears because this is a high scoring year, but we need to stop this garbage. Like the whole, like, are they touching the blue line at the right moment? Is their stick exactly on the puck? Like, just the cameras are garbage. The reviews are garbage. This shouldn't be a situation. Like, if you cannot decide whether a play should count in 5 seconds, it should count.
Mhm.
Like, it's so dumb. I hate it. Just get it
Mhm.
out of the game. I'm tired
I
of
think just what we want is more clarity and more consistency.
it.
Is basically it.
But
And
also, even if there's clarity, I don't want there to be like the difference between possession and control. There is no difference.
Mhm.
And if you think that there's a difference, that's because you're overthinking everything. It's
Yeah.
overwrought. We don't need to do that.
Mhm. Yeah, and to me, the most egregious offside ones are the ones that are the play, like preceding or like before the goal is scored, is offside, and then the goal gets called back like from a thing that happened 10 seconds prior. That's the one that annoys me the most because there were clearly more opportunities for the other team to stop the puck from going in. This one at least was like happened immediately after the onside offside thing, so like that that's the one that really gets me the most about offside because, sure, like it should have been maybe like it was a hair offside, but like, the other team had their chances to not get a goal scored on them. But hey, we finally disagree on something, Andrew. Woohoo. But I get it. Like I completely get why people are mad and the, looking at the basically like you're not seeing the forest through the trees or whatever that expression is here. Essentially, we're getting too bogged down in the semantics.
In the
Sometimes,
minutia.
in the
It
minutia.
doesn't matter.
Exactly. But I think that's probably an issue that needs to be solved. Not during an NHL season, and the league probably needs to look at their rule book and clarify things, but not make it as like, I don't know, just not get bogged down in the minutia of all of it. But we're going to end it there because, like I said, we have no idea. The game is on Thursday night. So who knows by the time, we talk to you guys again, what the series is going to look like. But I hope it's fun. I think that's the big prevailing thing is we want it to be fun and stuff like that. But, coming up next, we are going to talk just a little bit about the Eastern Conference final between the Rangers and Lightning and the surprising at least to me, surprising result in game one, but that'll be coming up right after this. Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all of the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thank you for making the Crosscheck NHL show your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast, nightly recaps of every NHL game with analysis from our local experts. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Andrew. So shifting from the West to the East, or it could be in a West 2.0, considering how the first game ended on Wednesday night. It is the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the New York Rangers, the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions versus a team Andrew calls a paper tiger. But are they really, Andrew, after that first game? All right. Still towing that line. I see it. I love it. I'm so here for this. But yes, the Rangers shocked the Lightning in game one by a score of 6-2. 6-2. The Lightning hadn't played in over a week, I think, right? Like
8
I'm trying
days.
to remember. Yeah, 8 days. Yeah. So it could have been a little bit rusty, but they did not look like themselves. The Rangers took advantage. They have home ice too, which you maybe wouldn't have expected, but because the Rangers were the higher seed in the Metropolitan Division, they are the have home ice advantage here. And yeah, what a game that was. We were all expecting the big stories. We were all expecting this to be a battle of the goaltenders between Andrei Vasilevskiy and Igor Shesterkin. And it wasn't that.
No.
I mean, for a little bit, it looked like both goaltenders were a bit off because, the Rangers would score, but then the Lightning scored like immediately after. And then there was a bit of a lull period, and then the Rangers scored and the Lightning scored immediately after. But then that was it for the Lightning. Igor Shesterkin kind of locked down, and the Rangers took advantage of an Andrei Vasilevskiy who wasn't looking like himself. But what did you think of this first game, Andrew? And have your expectations shifted just after one game of what you think we're going to see in this series?
They have not shifted. I think this was the Lightning looked really rusty. I think the only thing standing between them and series victory is Igor Shesterkin. The only thing that worries me slightly is Vasilevskiy against everyone except for the Florida Panthers has not been good in the playoffs, but he has other games to prove himself in this series. So we'll see. Kucherov also being pretty clearly hobbled is an issue, but I don't think that the Rangers can pull this out. They are riding crazy percentages so far. I looked it up on a natural stat trick, and over the last 5 years, only 2 teams who've made the playoffs and played in the playoffs have a worse expected goals for differential than the Rangers this year. They are the Chicago Blackhawks from the play-in round and the Minnesota Wild from, I think it was like 2018-19, where they just got blown apart and what I believe was a sweep. But they're the only team to have played into the third round who have a sub 40% expected goals for percentage at even strength. And despite people saying like, oh, well, special teams, including special teams, are at 41%, which is still the second worst this year. They are by far the worst this year. They have a lot of players who are going for them right now. I just don't think it carries them through against Tampa Bay.
I know. But it's gotten them this far. I can't believe I'm sitting here going to defend the Rangers.
Every Cinderella run ends.
Sure. Yes. But then they usually end in the Stanley Cup final, Andrew, is what I'm getting at here. You get the Montreal Canadiens, the Dallas Stars, the Vegas Golden Knights.
This is the boss, Mary.
I know.
It's the Tampa Bay Lightning.
And I know it's only one game, but I'm going to, try and give credence to the Rangers fans because, there was a whole thing about they can't score on starting goaltenders. They did that here against Vasilevskiy, regardless of, whether he's looked good or not in the rest of the playoffs. I still think he's looked good in the playoffs, but
were people actually saying they couldn't score against starters? Because I feel like that's a stupid thing to say considering their entire regular season. It's more that they've had the advantage of not playing against starting goaltenders. That's it.
Yeah. So I don't know. Not that the Rangers are winning me over, but I feel like we maybe should put a little bit more respect on what the Rangers are doing here. Not that to say that your numbers are bad and wrong and you are right, and it is very possible that their Cinderella story comes to an end here. I just think we should maybe put a little bit more respect on the magic that is carrying them, essentially, because it's gotten them this far, even though, yes, they didn't face starting goaltenders, but, they've been able to, I don't know. It's the playoffs. It's some weird, magic that is happening here. And it can end. Yes. And it can end, especially against a team like the Tampa Bay Lightning, the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, have Andrei Vasilevskiy, who is unbeatable in games where he loses. So game 2, I think, is going to be the real test here. If Vasilevskiy shows up and there's a brick wall, the Rangers are in trouble. But if Vasilevskiy gets into that game and the Rangers are still able to, make a game out of it, I think that the narratives could be shifting here. You're right in that the numbers say that the Rangers should not be this good. But the eyeballs are, my eyeballs are looking at it and are like, I don't know. There's something here with the Rangers, and I just want to give them a few seconds in, the limelight, because it feels like all year everybody has been doubting them, and I feel like, I need to give just a little bit of respect to them. But I get it completely. Like, they shouldn't be this good, but they have been able to find ways to make it work. And I don't want to, spit in the face of your numbers, Andrew. I just feel like we should give them just a little bit more respect here. Just from the way that they've been playing, because they've surprised a lot of people this year, and they shouldn't be as far as they are. And I get it, but yeah, that's it. I'm not trying to defend the Rangers here. I'm just trying to be like, listen, we keep saying that the analytics say that they're bad, but they currently have a 1-0 lead on the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. So
yeah, so did the Toronto Maple Leafs.
That's true. So we'll see how it ends by series end. But at least want to give a little credence to Rangers fans that they feel like they're being seen and heard here, because I feel like they're being I don't know, picked on basically. Because
they're in the conference final. It doesn't matter if they're being picked on. They're going to be happy anyway.
That's true, I suppose.
This is the thing about the Rangers is like, yes, I don't think they're very good right now. I think they are lucking their way into this. I think that
but that's what
Chris
the Penguins
Kreider's going to be more likely to be a 28 goal scorer next year than a 50 goal scorer.
Next year is not now, Andrew. Next year is not now.
Hear me out.
Okay.
This is the first year of their competitive window after a rebuild. They're not supposed to win the Stanley Cup. So this is just fun.
Yeah.
It's a great experience for the young players. They will be better than this. I'm not saying the rebuild is a failure or anything like that.
Oh, no.
But I don't believe in them at all.
All right, fair enough. That's completely fair. And obviously, like, the numbers don't support them. But to me, like I said, they feel like the Penguins of however many years ago that, like, were getting super lucky en route on their way to winning
their
a Stanley
second
Cup.
Stanley Cup?
I think so.
Honestly,
Andrew, it all blends
Penguins
together.
team, that Penguins team, when they lost Letang, because remember they went that whole I think it was like the whole playoffs without Letang. Ron Hainsey was their number 1 D. So they shut things down ridiculously in front of their net. They played a very conservative game in their own end, and then they focused all of their offense on getting to and through the middle of the ice right in front of the net. And they were like a sub 45% Corsi team, I think, in those playoffs. And people were like, oh, how are they doing this? But if you looked at the high danger chances, they were like 65%. So that's how they were dominating it. Whereas the Rangers across the board are just getting absolutely dogged on. And credit to them, they've faced tough competition. The Penguins were incredible in that first round, especially before Crosby went down. The Hurricanes are a team that will control the puck against you no matter who you are. So they got through 2 tough teams. Third tough team now here. I think the magic runs out.
Okay. And that's fair. And I think you hit on something earlier that they have nothing to lose. So they have
they're playing loose.
Yeah, they're playing. Yeah, exactly. They're playing. They're having fun. They're playing loose. There's certain pressures on other teams. Like, I don't know if the Lightning necessarily feel pressure, but they have history dangling in front of them. I'm sure in the back of their mind, maybe they do feel some sort of, pressure, because this could be an incredible historic run. They probably don't have they've been here before. They know they're not going to go out quietly or easily or whatever. These are the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. Like I was saying in the previous episode, they're the final boss, and they're final boss for a reason. And the final boss never goes down without a fight. But then you've got, teams like the Oilers and the, Avalanche, who have had their own demons to face, and have not gotten this far in the Stanley Cup playoffs before. There's the potential here for the Rangers to do something really special. And I just wanted to give them props because, I just feel like Rangers fans, I'm on your side here for now. But this is the Tampa Bay Lightning. We shouldn't give up on them yet, obviously. I think, though, Game 2 is going to be a huge indicator as to, where the series goes. Because so far, Vasilevskiy has been an incredible goaltender. Absolutely lights out, on games after, he loses. This is going to be a test, I think. And so far the Lightning have shown that they have been able to, pass the test and go far beyond expectations. So, but they are a bit banged up. I don't know if Braden Point is coming back in the series. Kucherov is pretty hobbled too.
John Cooper said that Braden Point is skating now in full
Oh,
equipment.
okay.
So if he's skating in full
Interesting. Was
equipment,
that from today? Because I don't.
yeah, I think this
Okay.
morning or last night.
Okay. Because
But
the last time
either
I
way,
saw was on Wednesday when he said that I believe before the game is they don't know yet if he's going to be coming back. But that's at least a positive sign for them.
yeah, it sounded like the last time before this that he spoke about it, that he was very cagey about Point
Yes.
playing at all in the playoffs again. And then all of a sudden he's like, maybe in this series,
Well,
which to me
things can
means a
change.
couple games from now.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's at least good for the Lightning because the last time I heard it didn't seem so good. But there's hope, and the Rangers have an uphill battle here, and I'm really hoping that the series is much like the first game, basically. Like we all build it as an incredible goalie matchup, and I do like goalie matchups. I just don't want it to be the whole series. You want some fun, you want some goal scoring, and goal scoring has been up this year. We talked about it, and I'm happy to see that it translated into the first game. But we'll see. I'm expecting game 2 to be more of the more of a shutdown game between the two teams. But you never know. It's the playoffs, and anything else you want to say before we move on? Because we disagree here on the Rangers, but I think that's okay. So,
Oh, you know what? I will add one thing because I looked up the NHL rule book, which is actually difficult to find. The NHL
really,
doesn't have it on their own site. I had to find it from scouting the refs. On the NHL's site, they have the rule book from like 2013, which
I'm
is
not surprised
absurd.
given how of a mess that the NHL's website is.
This is true.
It's very
But
bad.
what I was talking about with Dave Jackson, where he was saying like you can still be in possession without having control of the puck.
Mhm.
Well, it turns out that according to the NHL's own interference rule, what he was talking about, like you can be in possession and that's why you can get hit after releasing the puck. No, it says on being hit when not in possession of the puck, the last player to touch the puck other than the goalkeeper shall be considered the player in possession. The player deemed in possession of the puck may be checked legally, provided the check is rendered immediately following his loss of possession.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a loss of possession, then it's not possession.
Mm-hmm.
So Dave Jackson, you're the ESPN rules analyst. Maybe you should learn the rules.
maybe just dust up that rule book you got there and learn the rules. To be fair, I don't know how I can throw stones here because I don't really know the NHL's rules outside of the the major ones. I can't referee a game to save my life, but no. It is what it is. But coming up next, I'm gonna let Andrew take the lead on this one because I don't know where this came from. It's just a random tweet about hockey players as animals or something like that. We got some fun stuff for you coming up next, but that'll be coming up right after this break. This episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing only the brand their warehouse happens to carry. You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. RockAuto.com is a family business, serving auto parts customers online for 20 years. They have everything from engine control modules and brake parts to tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. Whether it's for your classic or daily driver, get everything you need in a few easy clicks delivered directly to your door. The RockAuto.com catalog is unique and remarkably easy to navigate. Quickly see all the parts available for your vehicle and choose the brands, specifications, and prices you prefer. Best of all, prices at RockAuto.com are always reliably low and the same for professionals and do-it-yourselfers. Why spend up to twice as much for the same parts? So go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, locked on in there. How did you hear about us box so that they know we sent you? Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. Okay, Andrew, please explain what you have served up here for this last segment because I completely missed this and I think you were talking about it on Twitter, but I completely bypassed it. So cue this up for us, Andrew, please.
Okay, so every year at the scouting combine, teams do player interviews for the draft, right? And they always have some quirky, weird questions, which it's never really about the answer. It's about how players justify their answer. But this year, one of the popular questions that teams were asking prospects was, what animal would best describe them as a hockey player? And according to Mike Morial from the NHL, most of the players said a lion, whereas Slavkovsky said wolf. And my instant reaction was lion is like the worst animal to pick because male lions just sit around all day and let the lionesses do all the hunting. So unless you're going to say a lioness, then maybe. But overall, I don't know if that's like the animal that you want to pick to represent you. You better
Andrew,
have a pretty good
do
explanation.
you think hockey players and the hockey men who interview them are smart enough to know that?
No, that's my point.
Mhm.
But we talked about, a bunch of people were throwing out ideas of what would be a good one for different players to have. And, if you're a shutdown defenseman who's like really physical, hippo, right? Hippos are absolutely vicious. They will defend their territory with teeth and bulk. If you're a big dude, maybe not the most mobile, but if you got them in a straight line, they're going to crush you. And I saw, wolf is not a bad one, right? Because you could say
Mhm.
dogged pursuit of your goals, and you work well in a pack. That's a decent one. However, wolves are a little bit skittish when in danger, so maybe not the best pick. And I saw some people saying African wild dogs because they have a hunting success rate of 83%, and apparently are like very good pack animals. They take care of each other really well. But one of the ones that I like the most that I saw going around Twitter was now I'm like blanking on the animal that they actually chose. It was like badger or something like that. It was like your net front player, right? The guy
Mhm.
who like hyena.
There we
Hyena,
go.
that's the one. Uh your net front player who cleans up all the garbage, right? Who gets all the scraps. A hyena, just like always laughing, a Brendan Gallagher type.
Uh,
But so Mary, if you were going to be a hockey player and an animal had to represent you, what animal would you choose?
okay, well, I was thinking when you messaged this in our little DM thing, I was like, okay, what would the ideal hockey players say as their answer? And I immediately went to a crocodile because they're aggressive, they're mean, they're big, and people, hockey players, or at least the hockey men, love their big power forwards type thing. I'm thinking like, I don't know, is Brad Marchand in that type of that type of thing? I know people classify him as a rat, but it's a different type of thing. Um, I don't know. That was my first thought is, crocodiles are aggressive and, pursue their prey more aggressive than like alligators are, I believe. Cause I had to look at the difference because I get them mixed up. But that was my first thought. I don't know what I would want to be if I was a hockey player. Um, because I don't know. My first answer probably would have been wolf because like, good impacts. Also, I like dogs a lot. Uh, I mean, people equate me as a person to a corgi because I'm short, excitable, but have short legs. So like, it fits.
Yeah, I saw one saying cockroach
It's not going
because
to
they
be
can
my
survive
answer.
anything.
Uh, you could be like a
Uh,
cockroach,
I
even though that is technically not an animal. It's an insect of some sort. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So
I want to know what you would want to be though.
for me, I
Mhm.
think it'd be a badger,
Okay.
right? Absolutely fierce. Comes in a small package. I'm only 5'7", 5'7.5", so like a honey badger.
Mhm.
You know, things roll off your back.
Yeah, you don't
You're not
care.
afraid of contact. You're not afraid of anything. You just don't care. It's like that
Mhm.
viral video, right?
Exactly. Can we
But
equate other hockey players to animals in terms of just
yes,
like
I was gonna say, to me, like the high end goal scorers who thrive on like getting lost in coverage, I always compare like Cole Caulfield or Alex Ovechkin to a shark, where like
yeah.
you don't see them until it's too late.
Mhm.
When you see that fin, you're dead already. That's a good one for me. Let's see. There's like if somebody's like a big hitter, like a Tom Wilson, you could do like a rhino.
Yeah. Tom Wilson, Ryan Reeves. I mean, obviously Connor McDavid is a cheetah, fastest animal.
Yep.
Absolutely blazing speed. Just
Although
incredible type
is
of player.
Connor McDavid a cheetah or is he more like a gazelle because of the agility, right? Cheetahs are like
Mm,
straight line, short distance, right?
yeah.
They get tired, whereas a gazelle is like they're hopping in and out of traffic.
That's a good point. Though, like if you were a hockey player, you'd pick cheetah because of, it's
You want a predator because hockey
yeah.
players are hockey players.
Yeah, but gazelle is not bad at all because like you're right, it's the agility, the to move through spaces and stuff like that. So that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Cale
Um
Makar was asked this question a few years ago, and he said a wolverine. which is along the lines of a badger.
Yeah. Because like they are not. It's not like the X-Men character. They are smaller. Yeah. They're like badgers or I'm trying to think of the other animal that they're an equivalent to, but I can't at the moment. What else? What would be a good equivalent for like the smaller goal scorers, like that aren't like, I guess I'm thinking of like, I'll put it Danny Briere, because I talked about him earlier in the episode, but like, your smaller goal scorer types. I guess Cole Caulfield is a small goal boy. So like, outside of the shark metaphor, would there be another one, you would think that would work for, a smaller NHL player that can score?
What about, for Caulfield, it's got to be something that can like it's got to be like a shark in that it finds its way to get lost in traffic and then appears at the last moment. So maybe like a falcon.
Ooh, yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
Peregrine Falcon. For Danny Briere, like he could score goals, but I always saw him as more of a playmaker. So a bird works because vision, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know what I'd pick for Danny Briere.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe like a hawk or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a neat thought experiment for sure. It just absolutely threw me off because like, what are we talking about here with animals?
It's very psychology 101, which doesn't surprise me for NHL general managers. But it is a fun thought experiment.
I wonder what other questions they've asked. Because you're right, it's not about the answer; it's about how that they like their thought process. Basically, I wonder what other questions they've asked NHL players, because it just seems like an interesting thing to go through that type of interview and then suddenly be blindsided. It's like if you went to a job interview and they're like, explain what type of animal you are, because I've never had that happen to me in a job interview before. So, but yeah, it's probably all about that. Anything else you want to say about this before we move on to our pop culture segment?
No, I just thought it would be a fun thing to chat
about. It was. At least you're right. It's a good thought experiment. Interesting to, think about NHL players in that way. Because there are a lot of similarities to them with animals. But we're going to move on and we're going to take a quick break and then talk about our pop culture segment before we end it off for the week. That'll be coming up right after this. You've been asking and Built delivered. Built granola bars are here. Built granola bars come in 3 unbelievable flavors: chocolate peanut butter, chocolate coconut, and white chocolate berry. Want to try all 3 flavors? You can get a mix box at Built.com right now. They're so different from the bars and the puffs. Built granola bars are loaded with granola. It's a perfect combination of crunch and chewiness. But just like bars and puffs, these babies are packed with protein and covered in 100% real chocolate. With 150 calories, 15 grams of protein, and only 4 grams of sugar, Built granola bars will change your world. Built has cracked the code to better granola. They're the perfect healthy snack to pack in your lunch, take on the road, or eat as a snack. And they're made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. So if you've been waiting for a healthy and delicious granola bar to hit the market, this is your time. Head to Built.com right now to get Built granola bars. Try 3 delicious flavors: chocolate peanut butter, chocolate coconut, and white chocolate berry. Don't miss out. You got to get yours today. Go to Built.com to get Built granola bars now. So go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off of your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, Andrew, let's dive into spoiler mode for the latest Obi-Wan Kenobi episode. I don't think we have anything else to talk about but this. So, Andrew, spoilers, you know the whole thing. Don't listen to this if you haven't seen it or you don't care. So, Andrew, what did you think about the fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader in episode 3 already? Already getting into it, Andrew.
I know, it was great. I loved it. I love that they're showing Obi-Wan as like disconnected and out of practice, and the pure fear that Ewan McGregor is showing as Kenobi when faced with having to fight his friend again, Anakin, is just amazing. And Star Wars has a relative issue compared to many movies and franchises with dialogue, where a lot of it is memeable but terrible. But when Obi-Wan first faces him and says, "What have you become?" and then Vader responds in James Earl Jones' phenomenal voice acting.
Great to hear him again.
I know. I am what you made me. Oh my God, is that ever a line? It's so good because it's multifaceted, right? It's Obi-Wan's failure as a teacher and Obi-Wan's success in striking him down in Revenge of the Sith, in creating this man-machine hybrid monster that is Darth Vader. It was phenomenal. And then you have, can we talk about how much of a drama queen Vader is?
Yes.
Where he goes through, because it's not just this, it's other moments too. Like in Rebels, or not Rebels, in Rogue One, in the hallway scene, the
Oh, yeah.
famous hallway scene, right?
Mhm.
And he lights his lightsaber, and that's the only source of light. He had to turn off his panel on his chest
Mhm.
to be all in dark, which means Darth Vader turned off his life support. And according to like Star Wars canon, that means he's only keeping himself alive through pure will of using the Force. So he put himself off life support to be scary.
Have you
And then
seen
he's always going around in space where there's no wind, making sure his cape is flowing in the wind. So he's using the Force to make his cape flow. And then he picks up Obi-Wan, like lights the ground on fire,
Mhm.
and rubs him through the fire to like bring him down to what he experienced.
Mhm.
I love that Vader is a gigantic drama queen.
Mhm. Yes. Have you seen the like memes of where people put songs over, the one in Rogue One? It's like either like Toxic by Britney Spears or I Need a Hero. They're really funny. I would implore you to look it up because
Yep.
the music fits so well with it. But yeah, I mean, not only is he a drama queen, he's cruel.
Oh yeah.
Like murdering people because he knows, like at the beginning, but not at the beginning of that sequence, murdering people because he knows Obi-Wan will help. Like that's get a way to get Obi-Wan out of hiding is to be like brutally murdering people for
Children too.
like children, yeah, for like no reason other than to, put
Draw
on a
him out.
show and draw him out. And then not only that, the, cruelty of, dragging him through the fire of like what he went through. Yes, dramatic and, very theatrical and very villain like, but cruel too. And
playing with his food, right?
yeah,
Like
exactly.
very much like a cat.
Mhm.
And the fact that at the end, in my opinion, he lets Obi-Wan go.
Yeah.
Like there's no way he put out that fire using the Force earlier in the scene. He could have just done it again and chased after him and got him.
Yeah.
I think he's
It
playing a
was a
cat and
threat.
mouse game.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like a threat to send a message, basically.
Yeah. And
And
like
it
when
makes
the other
me
Inquisitors were like, "Oh, we'll never find him now," Vader's like, "I'll find him."
and it makes me excited because I assume there's going to be another fight by the end of like this isn't going to be it. There is going to
Definitely.
be because Obi-Wan has, trouble connecting with the Force now. Is out of practice, out of shape, not nearly as, incredible of a fighter as we've seen, in the prequels. I mean, what 10 years have passed basically since then. And I don't know. I don't think he's going to get it all back, but there will be a point where he is going to, you know, snap out of it, or you know, he's going to become the Obi-Wan we're more used to. I would assume by the end because they want to put
Yeah.
on a good show. They want to put on
Well,
like a good fight sequence. It makes sense, for the dramatics.
this is the second time they've teased him trying to reach out to Qui-Gon,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah,
So eventually that's going to be successful, or else they wouldn't even put it in there.
exactly.
Like,
Check us, Qui-Gon, baby. Let's go.
exactly. So he'll reconnect with the Force, speak to Qui-Gon, gain his like confidence back, and I feel like just based on the lighting in that
Oh yeah.
whole like the advancement in lightsaber technology on set, allowing them to do those like scatter lightning effects, just makes everything so much better. And going back to like
Mhm,
Force Awakens, you could really see that in the forest fight scene, which
mhm.
is probably my favorite lightsaber fight
Yes.
of the sequels.
Mhm.
Fantastic looking. The final fight I think that we're going to get between these two is going to be the new definitive lightsaber battle, I think.
Mhm. I really hope so. They're really building towards something. And I said, I think in our last episode, that they weren't going to bring out the lightsabers, at least for Obi-Wan. They weren't going to bring, because, we've seen, the Inquisitors use their lightsabers or whatever, but we weren't going to see Obi-Wan use it until a big moment. And this was
Yeah,
a
until he
big
had
moment.
to.
Until he had to. This was the big moment. I don't know if they're going to, continue to, let him like train basically, or like, get back up to form essentially, but they're using it sparingly for effectiveness, and it's really working, and it's doing a lot of really awesome character work. It hits you right in the feels too with what you said, the line of like, I am what you made me. So good, very good character writing, and just makes me happy. Like, I'm so excited to see where this goes because it's really, going to come to a boiling point basically in the
The
final
haters
episode.
from the first 2 episodes are real quiet right now, eh?
I know, right? Like, this was just like you got everything you wanted. Like, Obi-Wan is being laid low, being, drugged through his grief, and all that stuff. And, we get to
Speaking of
see.
that, the moment with him and Leia on the back of that truck
Mhm.
where he talks about Padme indirectly,
Yeah.
that was such a great moment. I feel like there's more emotion in this one episode of Kenobi than was communicated in the entire prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, you can feel on Ewan McGregor's face, like the feeling of loss of a friend, of someone. You've kind of absorbed all of the extra continuity of the Clone Wars and added so much more depth to these characters. And I know I saw an interview with Hayden Christensen talking about how he watched the Clone Wars in preparation for this role and
Mhm.
brought in some of that level of Anakin to this. And I think that's so interesting to see like an animated series have so much impact on these characters. And you can feel it in this show. I just think it's such a richer story because of what Dave Filoni's done.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, I mean, we're halfway through now. Interested to see where they go from here, but it seems like if I had to guess, episode 6 is going to be, the big climactic battle, the big showdown and stuff like that. So, we're going to see now. It's probably going to take, a little bit of I would assume that the next episode is a little bit more low key in terms of like stakes, but got to
Well, I
build
mean,
that character first.
Leia's with the third sister
That's
right now,
true.
so
Yeah, that's true.
that's
But
pretty high stakes.
true. It's high stakes, but we know Leia's okay in the end. So like
Yes,
it's
this
not
is
as
true.
nearly as high stakes. It's more just like the character, the character moments and the character drama, the growth that
Mhm.
comes out of all of those stakes.
And
Um,
she was so good in this episode too.
mhm.
The young actress playing Leia, who I
Yeah.
know a lot of people were annoyed by her in episode 2, which is like, she's a kid.
Mhm.
That's how kids act. They're
Yeah.
impetuous. They don't want to listen.
Mhm.
But she was so great in this one.
Mhm.
I
And
really
the actress who
think
played
she's
the third sister also doing an incredible job.
yes,
So
yes. And also for those who were hating on her, how embarrassing is it that Ewan McGregor had to make a video put
mhm.
out by the official Star Wars Twitter account being like, "You're not real Star Wars fans. Get out of here."
Star Wars fans are something else, man. They're
Yeah,
not even Star Wars fans.
I
Like,
know. They're just
like
people who think they own something and they don't.
fandom is a
It's for
hell of a
everyone.
thing. It's a hell of a thing, Andrew. It really
There's a
is.
reason why fan is short for fanatic, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and
It
it is.
when you're when you get so attached to something that you think that you're the only one who understands it or who can be represented by it, it's just
Mhm.
it's not a good thing. You got to take a step back and enjoy it for what it is. And I really think I've really liked the character development of Riva, and I think that scene in the beginning, I don't know if we mentioned it last episode, with the younglings during Order 66. I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure she was in that scene, otherwise I don't really get them showing it
Mhm.
instead of like a flashback like they've been showing when Kenobi is being in his dreams or whatever. I think that her character is going to be really important
Mhm.
and people are going to appreciate it by the end.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I mean, don't use your fan powers for good. You can disagree with something and you can criticize something, but to attack the people um that are just acting out the parts, no, don't do that. Like
Yeah.
you should
I mean,
be
people
better
still
than that.
crap on the girl who played Rose Tico, and like,
Yeah.
just because you don't like her character doesn't mean that the actress is somebody that you should bully. Like,
Yeah, exactly. But people, take it out on mostly women or people of color.
mm-hmm.
I mean, John Boyega also went through it too. But there is there's a clear line of like the people who get bullied
Yep.
versus the people who don't. But don't do that.
It just happens to be those people
It
all the
just
time,
happens to
Mary.
be those characters. Like, I
It's
don't
not
know.
that they're awful people. How dare you accuse them of racism and misogyny when they
Mhm.
just happen to always hate women and people of color? It's
Yeah.
just a
It's
coincidence.
just a coincidence. Don't do it is
Yes,
basically
just
what we're
stop.
saying. All right.
If you act that way, you don't deserve to enjoy these things.
Exactly. It's not for you. This
Exactly.
stuff isn't for you if you're going to be that petulant about it. But we're going to wrap up all that talk. Next week, we'll have more, I guess, Obi-Wan talk because the show is still going and I'm very excited about it. But that is all we have for you today on the Crosscheck NHL show. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Make sure to follow us on your podcast platform of choice from Apple to Odyssey to Spotify and YouTube and rate and review us while you're at it. You can follow the pod at Crosscheck NHL on Twitter, me at Macy Clark on Twitter, and Andrew at Andrew Berkshire on Twitter. Thanks for making the Crosscheck NHL show your first listen every Tuesday and Friday. We'll be back on Tuesday with some more puck talk, but now make your second listen Locked On NHL. From first-round matchups to each Stanley Cup kiss, Locked On NHL covers the playoffs like no other. Hear the latest news and opinions from local experts every Monday through Friday. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts.